Good morning, one and all. How the devil are you doing? Going to go over to the chat very quickly. Dan Cullen said, slight delay in my end. You need more fibre in your diet, Dan, but good morning to you. Stefan Edwards is here, all the way from the Netherlands. Mark Whiting, a bit closer to home, but Mark is here as well. Good morning, one and all. The sun is shining. I've got a camouflage hat on, so you may not even be able to see the top of my head. It may just have faded in the background by now. It's an alu. So I've got the Finnish flag on one side, American flag on the other. Flying all the flags today. We've got a really packed show for you today, and one of our videos that we're going to be playing today is about 11 minutes long, so we're going to need a bit of time to set aside for that one. Ken Hatter is here as well this morning. He's got the sunshine. Happy thumping Thursday. Oh, says Dan. Yeah, Thursday, nearly the end of the week, and which means it's almost time for me to head off to Italy, which I have to say I'm quite excited about. Do love me a bit of Italy. Not much more to tell you right now. As I say, it's a packed show, and we do have one very long video in the middle. So without further ado, let me roll the intro and get this show underway with a bit of this. Need to say good morning to our friend Mercy, who's just joined us. And Dan saying a few interesting bits in the news. What defines a house? Okay. Andy Darvell is here as well. Love your hat, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. I'm surprised you can see it. Camouflage normally just makes it just blend into the background. Good morning, guys. Sorry. Hang on a minute. Sorry, I'm late. Big shift last night, 2 a.m. finish. Glad to see you're keeping your end up over there. Good morning to you, Gary. And John the Ball has joined us as well. Good morning, Mark, from John the Ball. John the Ball is in the midst, so I can tell you exactly what's going on in today's show. It is Thursday, the 30th of April. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. Also the authentic voice of the global demolition industry, but we don't need to worry about that. In today's show, we're taking a deep dive on the Hyundai HX360. Shantway shows off its electric equipment range. When Priestley went to Memphis, and in the latest stop on our voyage to Verona, we're calling in on Volvo. Yeah, Volvo Construction Equipment to see what they have in store for Samota 2026. Plus, in today's edition of Mark's Morning Monologue, I've already said that we're featuring some Shantway electric equipment. Our morning monologue today is all about electric equipment and our apparent reluctance to adopt it. And the morning monologue is called Adapt and Overcome. I promise it will make sense when we get there. Dan says, morning all, you lot got morning all, you lot. Have you got a tan yet, Gary? Well, I mean, I don't like to speak for Gary, but I have seen Billy Connolly doing his thing. Apparently it takes Scottish people a week to get white. They arrive a faint shade of blue, pale blue, and then it takes them a week to get white. So, Gary, how's the tan coming on? Please, 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 no photos of your white parts. We don't need to see that. Right, let's crack on. We're going to have a bit of Caterpillar hammers, and then we're looking at the brand new HX360 from Hyundai. Weather update or wildlife weather update. Dan's just said, I've seen the first butterfly 2026. Yeah, we've got a few in our garden now. Jim Turner has just arrived. Morning, peeps. Morning, Jim. Yes, sorry, what hat? Stealth hat. Yeah, it is the stealth hat. I'm going to play a Hyundai video now, or a Hyundai, depending how you like to pronounce it. While you're doing that, I'm going to bring you a photograph for the end of this video, because we literally, as I was speaking, got a bit of news from Hyundai. So let's do this first.
Hey y'all, I'm Sunny, and this is Hyundai's all-new next-gen excavator. It's built to raise the bar for power, comfort, and control. It's packed with smart tech, all-new refined hydraulics, and a cab that feels just like your favorite truck. Let's jump in and figure it out. First step, payload weighing. Right from the bucket, you get accurate material weights, so you optimize every truckload and avoid guesswork. No more overloads and no more lost revenue. Next, driving and steering like you've never seen on an excavator. With programmable joysticks and simplified travel controls, steering and travel feel intuitive. Less fatigue, more control, and more job done. Inside, the cab features dual tablet-style HD monitors that are crisp, clear, and customizable. Your data, diagnostics, control modes are all right there. The machine becomes part of your workflow, not just a tool. For precision jobs, there's a 2D machine guidance and e-boundary setting. Whether you're controlling bucket angle, setting travel limits, or defining a virtual work zone, this excavator helps avoid overdig, underdig, or unintended encroachment. So smart job site control. Under the hood is the new Hyundai Stage 5 compliant engine. More torque, better fuel economy, lower emissions, and with extended service intervals, you spend less time parked and more time moving material. And finally, lift assist. You get a visual map of safe lifting zones. Standard 4-quadrant with optional 8-zone precision. You lift smarter, you lift safer, and loads go where they should with confidence. And that's Hyundai's next-gen excavator, built to help you work smarter, stay comfortable, and stay safe. If you're ready to experience next-level comfort and control, visit your local Hyundai dealer and see it for yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next job.
Now, first of all, let's have a quick good morning to Nigel Williams. Morning, Nigel. Thank you for joining us. Dan says you showed this before. Now, I know that lady is a regular in some of the Hyundai American videos. I do remember her. I don't remember that machine. And that video was just sent to me yesterday. So I need to go and check that. But it is a good excuse to talk about the thing I'm about to talk about. Hang on a minute. Let's. I showed it 2 weeks ago, apparently. I don't know about tan, Dan. My head is bright red. And when I stand on this corner of the street, the traffic waits until I change colour. Yeah, that accent doesn't suit us, says Dan. Ken Hatcher, they're pushing technology now. They certainly are. Very small engine, not a 6-spot. I'd like to see it in action. Doesn't look as good, says Dan. Well, maybe your chances of seeing one in action may have slightly improved today. Okay. I want to show you this. Literally arrived while we were speaking. It's not a Hyundai wheel loader going off on its holidays on a cruise ship, which I will be doing later in the year. Apparently, Hyundai's parent company, HD Construction Equipment, has established a UK PDI centre in Southampton Docks, bringing final machine preparation closer to UK dealers and customers. Opened in January, I don't know why they're telling us about it now, the facility will take fully assembled machines directly from the factory, reducing delivery times to the customer and ensuring that the highest quality standards are maintained. All fully assembled Hyundai construction equipment machines destined for UK customers will now be delivered directly to the new PDI centre in Southampton. Unlike the company's UCUP facility in Antwerp, where UK equipment has previously been delivered and checked, the Southampton site is positioned within the docks, taking machines directly from the ship with no requirement for additional truck movements to the facility. So, there you are. Mike Wolf with an update on all things Hyundai. He says, I had a test drive of the new Hyundai excavators and they are very swish, says Mike. And trust me, Mike is a real journalist. He's not one of those that is paid to say nice things about manufacturers. He's the real deal. So if he says it's good enough for me. Dan says, I'd need a demo on one, give my honest opinion, as I'm not a fan of Hyundai. Gary Muirhead says, wouldn't surprise me as they don't make ships as well like Liebherr do. I think Hyundai are in shipping, though, aren't they? I've not imagined that, have I? I'm fairly sure Hyundai is in shipping. I've put myself out there now, and I honestly don't know if that's right or not. Mike says the new loaders are good too, as is the new dozer. The 2-axle AD2 is pretty good as well. See, Mike was on the spot. It was about a week and a bit ago, maybe. Yeah. Less said about my invitation on that one, the better, I would say. We're going electric in a moment after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Now, we're going to play you a video now. It's only about, it's under a minute. It just brings you up to speed with the latest electric equipment from the Chinese manufacturer, Shantwei. I'd like you to hold your thoughts on electric machines because we've got a poll for you today. When I can make it happen. There you are. Are you pro-electric? Just generally, are you pro-electric or are you anti-electric equipment? Not cars, not anything else. Just are you pro-electric or are you anti-electric? Please type pro or anti into the chat. We're running a poll in the background, which I, that's. I've started it. It's running. So if you are pro, type pro. If you're anti, type anti. You get the idea. The experience I've had on Hyundai wasn't very great. Underpowered and bad hydraulic pump, says Dan. Morning superstars, are you shining bright today? Well, personally, Chris, I am. I can't speak for everybody else, but the poll is underway. So while the poll is running, let me actually show you a bit of electrical equipment just to remind you what it all looks like. It's a pretty good mixed bag there. Pretty good mixed bag. We've got some pros and we've got some antis. I'll keep that running and I'll keep that playing up top as well, just for the rest of the show. We do have a discussion at the end of the show about why we seem reluctant to adopt electric, which is why I'm doing this today. Let's have a bit of this because I've got to dredge the next video off my hard drive because it is 11 minutes long. But trust me, it's a really good 11 minutes. Back after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Dan enjoying the colour of the Shantwei. One of the things that's been good about the arrival of the electrics is that people have started to modify their colours. I know Lugong have gone green, Shantwei have gone that nice blue colour. Dan says, be interested to see if they make landfall in the UK. Only a matter of time, I would have thought. On the subject of electrics, Gary Muirhead says he's pro, but like you said before, it's the early days of electric equipment and things can only get better. This is the worst they will ever be. Andy Dalville is going the other way. Haven't operated one yet, but they don't seem to be able to do a full shift on one charge. Please hold that thought because that is precisely what we're talking about in the morning monologue. They don't make much noise, so they can't be heard, which I think is a safety issue. That I do agree with. Jim Turner says, can't answer that question. It's not a yes or no answer. Diesel battery electric thing, yes. Behind it, 100%. Fully electric has its uses, but only in special cases. Jim Turner sitting on the fence. Right. Okay. Well, while he sat on the fence, let me bring you this 11-minute video. It features one of the finest exponents of demolition in the entire world. It's Priestley Demolition out of Canada. But on this occasion, they're not working in Canada. They're working in Memphis, Tennessee in the United States.
Tiny's Demolition out of Nashville. has done all the interior demo and abatement work. PDI and Green City's gonna be taking over from there to do all the structural wrecking. Right now, we're starting in the penthouse on the 19th floor. Gotta get those shored up to do rooftop work, get it down to a uniform level on 19. After that, it'll be more consistent of being 2 floors short at a time to support the weight of the excavators we're gonna be flying up here. And then as we start to wreck and get the floor space cleared out, we'll have to start rotating some of the shoring down to one more floor below. So we always have 2 floors supported fully at all times. We'll have to be continuing that process all the way down until we hit the parking garage. And then once we get the parking garage, we'll fly the excavators back out, switch over to the SK1000, and go back to high reach work on top of the garage.
The shoring guys are going to be here. They're going to keep moving material up to the 18th floor and setting up the shoring.
So right now we're up on the roof level, which is about the 20th floor of this building. We've basically hoisted up a S70 skid steer, and we're starting to gather up all the loose steel, the aluminum flashing off the side of the penthouse, and we're loading that into the skip bin, which will then get craned down to the ground level and dumped. The next step is going to be stripping off the roofing. So it's got a tar and insulation roof, so the S70 is scraping that up. Right now we're just stockpiling it until the crane can return our skip bin for us. And then we'll be loading that garbage into the skip bin and hoisting it down as well. This is all in preparation to start the demolition of the penthouse and the roof level of the structure. Up on the roof, we left this phase to put the outrigger system that's going to be the second layer of protection for demo work on the high rise. There's going to be a total of 14 of them across the parking garage.
So the steel plate goes on it for the protection on the outside of the roadway. So if any material comes, it'll just fall into the building instead of falling out into the roadway. So we got to cut these legs off so they fit perfectly on the angle so you can get a better welds. And we built these stoppers here, so when we do put it on, it won't slide on us, just for our safety. There's a little bit of work that we got to cut and grind them down, and smooth it out to make it a lot easier for us to weld and stuff like that.
We're currently on level 18. At this point, we have brought down the staircases, the elevator shafts. We have started taking sections of the east wall. For that operation, we used a saw that we attached to one of our machines. As you can see, it has an oil quick shoe. We attach it to one of the 85s. We make a vertical cut, we hammer it, we bring the piece in. On the other side, we're starting to remove slab for level 18. How we're doing it for that specific scenario, we're breaking holes, we're rigging the piece, and we're breaking the squares where we're able to lift them up with the crane and bring them down to the ground level where we're able to process the material, process the concrete, the rebar. So as you can see on that side, we have removed 3 portions of the slab, 1 bay and a half. We're moving to do the next section of the slab. Give me a little bit of winch down so I can gauge it a little bit better. Now we're starting to rig the piece. We're gonna put the chains through. Eventually the piece is gonna be rigged, and we're gonna finish hammering all the edges, cut the bar, send the slab downstairs. Now that the piece is rigged, we're starting to break the edges. Once the rebar is exposed, we're gonna cut the rebar. Eventually, when all 3 sides are chipped, all the bar is cut, we're gonna lift the piece, send it downstairs. Now that all the rebar is cut, we're gonna hoist the slab downstairs. So below the active demolition, we have at least 2 stories shored up to make sure that we keep the building structurally sound and to bear the weight of the equipment that we have up above.
We have been working doing top-down demolition. The building was 253 feet tall at the beginning, and we took 160 feet off of it. That has turned it into a 93-foot building that we're now demolishing from ground up with large equipment.
We've got our Caboclo 1000. It's configured with the short tab boom, and we've also added a 10-foot extension to get a bit more reach. So we have had to build up a bit of a pad with some material to get to the top of the 9th floor. The reason we're using the short configuration rather than the high reach boom is because this allows us to have a larger attachment on the end of the machine. Currently we're running a Labounty UPX 950 with a pulverizing jaw, and we're basically working this building in a bottom-up fashion. So when I say that, it means we're starting with the lower floors. Gerard, he's in one of the 490s, and he'll chew out the basement floor and the first couple of floors above that. And then the 1000 will take over and work the floors from the bottom to the top of the building, and then bring the beams and the columns down from the top down. So as demolition progresses along Madison Avenue, we have our crane holding a demolition screen. What that's doing is preventing any of the aluminum siding on the parking garage from falling out, and also stopping any small debris as we're demolishing the beams and columns right along the road edge.
So it's just a safety precaution that we typically do when we're close proximity to traffic and pedestrians.
This process now is going to go very quickly. As we progress, we're going to work our way all the way down the roadside and then do the west side along Pauline. Once that's done, there'll be the 2 cores left in the center of the job. We can eliminate the crane, and that'll free up a lot of space so that we can have 2 operations going at once, demolishing and trucking.
Proper elite level demolition. Priestley doing a fantastic job there. Ryan Priestley, one of the stars of the industry at the moment, I would honestly say. Loads of chat going on while that was going on. Dan Cullen and Gary both said the same thing. That would be a perfect job for the top-down way system from Deathspray. Yes, it would. Quite a long way to take it, but hey, why not? Stephen Edwards, we're talking about electric machines. I'm going to put that back up very quickly. We're getting near the end of the poll, but I'll put it up for just now. What have we got? Yeah, Stefan is saying, my experience is that most antis are based on a lack of knowledge regarding electrical machines and their capabilities. Yeah, we are a bit like that as an industry, aren't we? Initially conservative. Oh, that will never catch on. And you try it. Oh, actually, yeah, I can see that. I wonder how much of that there is. Dan says, I wonder how much they charge to get the machines and equipment across the Canadian border into Texas. It must be very costly in fuel and movement. I would imagine it is. I wonder if there's a tariff payable on that. In the world of Trump, everything's got a tariff on it, isn't it? Gary saying the Americans really love their skid steers. They do. Dan enjoying the music. Going back to our mention of Hyundai earlier, yes, they do have shipping. I wasn't completely barking mad. HDR Hyundai. This is from Mick Norton, by the way. The industrial arm of Hyundai Group is one of the world's largest and most advanced shipbuilding, and its shipyards build everything from supertankers to LNG carriers to naval vessels. I wasn't completely mad after all. More votes on our anti or pro electric poll, which is at the top of the screen there. Interesting equipment they got there, like the Bobcat. And Dan says, now here's a question, because he always starts a question with here's a question. What 8-ton machine would best suit demolition for power and agility? Mine would be Takeuchi. I think that would be a really tough one to argue against. I mean, Takeuchi got the power, got the agility, and as tough as old boots. I'm sure others will have their own personal opinion, but Dan, I think I'm probably with you on Takeuchi on that one. Dan says, not sure that's a great way to drop a slab to the floor, as stress could cause it to fold like a book. What do you think? There's a lot of reinforcing still in there. My guess is, and that will hold it rigid, is my guess. Then again, I'm not a demolition engineer. Nobody wants me as a demolition engineer. Mick says, the UK construction sector is reluctant to adopt electric machines, mainly because they cost twice as much as diesel, requiring charging infrastructure that most sites don't have. All good points. But there is one element of the anti-argument, which is the idea of charging midday or in the middle of a shift. That's the thing I want to address at the end of the show with our morning monologue. Never seen that method, but obviously works. Bottom up, inside, top down. Yeah, absolutely. Be a job for you, Andy Darville. Mick Norton says, unaffordable, often twice the cost. Plant is often hired, not owned. Margins are thin. Cash flow, double the price. Downtime when slow charging. Only 5.2% uptake in the sector. So far. Dan says, Stefan, you are right, but the safety on site due to zero noise and people walking around, EV machines, it is a concern. That doesn't seem to be the main concern. The main concern that I'm hearing is the one that we're going to address at the end of the show, which is this notion of charging in the middle of a shift. We'll come to that in just a moment. Before we do that, we're going to head off to Verona before next week I actually do head off to Verona. Yes, off to Verona next week. I'm going to stop the banner because, well, I tell you what, we'll do the poll results after the thing I'm about to show you. But I'm going to turn this off when I can remember how to do so. There we are. Take that off the screen. I think everybody just about has voted now. Yes, I'm gradually eking these out because we've only got, let me think, 2 more shows. I'm not entirely sure we have 2 more previews of Samota to come. But I've been working my way through the editing of these in the order that they were shot. So next on the list is Volvo.
First of all, thank you so much to be here with us. My name is Vincenzo De Berardinis, and I'm the Marketing Communication Manager for Volvo Construction Equipment Italy. Why to be at Samoter 2026? Because Samoter will be a very strategic window in order to promote our product and our services. Volvo last year, Volvo Construction Equipment had the biggest launch ever had, because we launched the new articulated hauler, we launched the new wheel loader, the new excavator, and also compact machine, electric compact machine. So it was the biggest launch. So Samoter is the right trade union to present this new product, to present the new digital solution, smart digital solution that we have, and also not just to present, but also to let the customer taste the machine and the smart digital solution that we will have. We will present the new compact excavator. We will present the new compact electric wheel loader, L25 Generation 3. Plus, we will have all the smart digital solution that we will present to the customer. Also, for example, the site solution, for example, the Volvo Connect. So, all package that we can offer, we will present, and we will give to them the possibility to test the machine and the smart digital solution too. In the last years, Volvo invests a lot to technology and digital solution, smart digital solution. So now we have like a big portfolio in each machine family to present. And plus Volvo Connect, because Volvo Connect will be really a smart, let's say, we like to call Volvo Connect the customer portal, the web portal dedicated to the customer. It's a customer has the opportunity to go there, and then he will have a marketplace where can order the original spare parts or take other services related to the services. Volvo, you know, it's a very environmental care for Volvo, as for example, safety. It's very in the DNA, you know. So, and for us, it's very important, like safety or environmental care or quality. I mean, are must. We have to be there, and we are there with solution that can make the difference and can bring added value to the customer. And this is our main focus. Electric is an added value for the customer.
Perfect. Electric is an added value for the customer. Hold that thought, because we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Dan, yeah, I picked up on that. Sounded like he said the biggest lunch, not launch. I'm going to Italy. I'll be having the biggest lunch as well, just to be clear. Chris Ford, going back to the Priestley video, interesting solution to the problem of demolishing a skyscraper. No bang involved. Yeah, far more complex than that. Stefan Edwards, coming back on electric. And I do appreciate this. Thanks for this, Stefan, because having spent a bit of time in the Netherlands the past few years, trust me, they are light years ahead. When it comes to using EV machines, you guys should really come and take a look at the project sites of some Dutch contractors. This will debunk a lot of the reasons people are still anti. I agree 100%. Jim Turner says the electric will be a possibility as a mainstream power source if a machine could work flat out for 16 hours a day, then park up for 10 minutes in the middle of nowhere and be refueled with something weighing no more than 300 kilograms, and then work flat out for another 16 hours. When they can, I'll class fully electric as a diesel replacement. And yes, Volvo Connect. Best promotional demolition video I've seen in a while, says Mick. Yeah, listen, Priestley. I mean, I don't care if they're watching or not, and they're not paying me to say this. Priestley Demolition are Premier League contractors. They really are. You know, when you look at the various contractors around the world, you know, I'd say Despe from Italy would be right up there. Probably Iris from the UK would be up there. Cardem from France would be up there. And I have to say, Priestley Demolition from Canada, absolutely Premier League. And they don't just do the projects well. They talk about them. They're very open about how they do them. They share the videos and everything else. So yeah, absolutely 100% agree. Anyway, all that being said, let's show the poll and let's stop the poll and see how we came down. Yes, it is saying that 57% of the audience. It's a close one. I can't say this is definitive by any means, but 57% of those that actually took part in the poll today are anti-electric. And listen, I realise there are lots of reasons to be anti. It's not as cut and dried as they take too long to charge in the middle of the day. I realise there's a multiple of different arguments for it. But hold that thought, because we are about to go over into my morning monologue, which kind of follows on from that. So that's about it for the main part of today's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around, please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back immediately after this. Us humans, we're a remarkably pliable species when we're not wearing high-vis vests. As individuals, we've spent the last 2 decades being systematically trained to accept inconvenience as a standard operating procedure. We grumble, certainly, but we adapt. We adjust our schedules, our expectations, and our personal dignity to accommodate the shifting requirements of modern existence. Think about the airport experience. There was a time when you could rock up to the terminal 20 minutes before takeoff, bag in hand, and walk straight onto a plane. Then the world changed. Post 9/11, the aviation industry didn't just move the goalposts, it dismantled the stadium. We were told to arrive 3 hours early. We were told to remove our shoes and our belts, surrender our bottled water, and then stand in transparent cylinders with our hands over our heads. Did we revolt? Did we refuse to fly? No, we adapted. We built an extra 3-hour window into our lives for the sole purpose of standing around in our socks while someone x-rayed a bag containing our smalls. In fact, we transformed a massive waste of human productivity into a booming economy for £10 toasted sandwiches and overpriced lattes. We adjusted our internal clocks to accept that a 4-hour flight now requires an 8-hour commitment. We went with the flow because that was the new reality. The same spirit of begrudging compliance followed us into the supermarket. Not so long ago, this was a transaction that was very simple. You placed your items on a belt, a professional scanned them, and you paid. Today, we're frequently directed toward a glowing bank of self-service checkouts. We've effectively been recruited as unpaid, untrained supermarket staff. We stand there struggling with a carrier bag that won't open, while a machine with the temperament of a toddler screams about an unexpected item in the bagging area. We're objectively worse at this task than the professionals we replaced. We're slower, and it's more frustrating, and it places the burden of labour squarely on our shoulders. Yet we do it. We've adapted to the inefficiency of the convenience because it's the path of least resistance in our private lives. Even the global upheaval of the pandemic proved that when pushed, we can rewrite our entire social contract over a weekend. We learn to live behind masks, to measure out 6 feet of personal space in our heads, and to conduct our entire professional and social lives through a laptop screen. We rolled with the punches because we had to. And then we pull up to the site gates, and that adaptability seems to dissolve and to vanish. In the demolition and construction sectors, we're currently facing a technological shift that mirrors these societal changes, the transition to electric power. And yet the primary industry rebuttal is the perceived imposition of the midday charge. The argument is familiar. We can't afford to have a machine sitting idle for 60 minutes while it draws juice. It kills the rhythm, breaks the workflow. It's an inconvenience too far, they say. It's a fascinating disconnect. We'll happily sacrifice 3 hours of our lives to a security queue at Heathrow or 45 minutes to a malfunctioning self-checkout till, yet we view a 60-minute battery top-up during a scheduled lunch break as some existential threat to the industry. We're willing to adapt our lives for a budget airline or a grocery giant, but we refuse to adapt our site management for a technology that is quite clearly the inevitable direction of travel. The idea that the site operates in a state of constant, unbroken kinetic energy from 7:30 till 4:30 is a polite fiction. We know we all deal with plant breakdowns, delayed muckaway lorries, missing permits, and the general chaos of urban demolition and construction every single day. As we were saying yesterday, we're professional problem solvers who spend half our lives adapting to things that haven't gone to plan. If a hydraulic hose bursts on a 20-ton excavator, the machine is down. We don't pack up and go home. We adapt. We move a different rig into place. We reassign the banksman. In this industry, we are masters of the pivot. So why is a planned and entirely predictable charging interval treated like a catastrophic failure of the system? The reluctance, I don't think, isn't actually about the 60 minutes. It's about a stubborn attachment to the refuel and forget mentality of diesel. We like the idea that a machine can run until it's dry, be topped up in 5 minutes and then keep working. But that convenience comes with a footprint of noise, vibration, and carbon that the world is increasingly unwilling to tolerate. When we look at the urban environments where many of us work, the benefits of electric plant are undeniable. The lack of noise alone is a game changer. The removal of exhaust emissions makes basement excavations and confined space demolition infinitely safer and more pleasant for the blokes on the ground. These are massive operational wins. To gain those wins, the price is to change how we manage the midday lull. It requires us to stop viewing the lunch break as just a period where the engines happen to be off and start viewing it as an active part of the machine's duty cycle. If we can adopt to the nonsense of the bagging area and the 3-hour airport arrival, surely we can adapt to plugging in a cable at noon. The irony is that construction professionals are among the most resourceful people on earth. Our entire career is a testament to the phrase adapt and overcome. We find a way to make it work because that's the job. But when it comes to the electrification of the fleet, we seem to be leaning on inconvenience as an excuse for stagnation. We're treating a relatively minor logistical adjustment as if it were a physical impossibility. Perhaps the issue is that we've spent so long being told what to do in our private lives by airlines, by retailers, and by governments, that the site is the one place where we feel we should still be able to dictate the terms. We want the world to stay the way it was because that's easier. But the world isn't staying that way. The environmental targets aren't suggestions. They're becoming mandates. The contractors who figure out how to weave charging cycles into their site logistics today are the ones that will be winning the tenders tomorrow. They're the ones who will look at a 60-minute charge and see a window for maintenance, a tea break, or a site briefing, rather than a wasted hour. We've already proven through every expensive airport coffee and every frustrating self-checkout interaction that we have the capacity to adjust our behaviour to suit new systems. We're already doing the hard work of being adaptable human beings in every other facet of our lives. It's time we brought that same spirit to the site. If you can handle the airport security line, you can handle a charging cable. It's not an inconvenience. It's just the new way we work. We just need to stop pretending that a plug and a cable is a hurdle we can't jump. There you are. I don't suppose for one moment that will convince any of the 57% that took part in our poll to change their ways and change their minds. But that's me throwing out my thoughts there. We do as a species. We are endlessly adaptable. I gave you some kind of universal examples there, and I do think COVID was the ultimate example. You know, you're going about your business one day, and then somebody from the government says, henceforth, you can't visit your family. You have to stay 6 feet apart. You have to wear a face mask wherever you go. And you have to get a vaccination to stop you getting it and to stop you spreading it. And as a nation, as a species, we all went, all right, okay. If that's our new normal, which was the term they were banning around it in the middle of COVID, yeah, all right. We found a way. And don't forget, look, I mean, I'm talking about the personal part of COVID there. When you think about the impact upon business, you know, we had spent years, I realize some people were already remote working, but we spent years and years and years going to site, going to offices, going to retail centers, wherever people go to work. That's what we did. We got in our cars, we got on a bus, we got on a train, and we went to our place of work. We did our work, and then we went back home again. And in the blink of an eye, we were told, no, that's not the normal anymore. What we need you to do is to do everything you normally do, but to do it from home. And we figured it out. You know, we adopted the tools that had been there for a while, Zoom meetings, Microsoft Teams meetings, and so on. You know, we figured out how to work in a different way because there was a need. And the need, let's be absolutely honest, the need was with COVID, it was one of survival. How is that any different to trying to address global warming? And I realize, you know, there's a variety of views on global warming and the part that we all play in it. But if you can do your bit to reduce carbon emissions and thereby protect the climate a little bit, it's just like COVID. Adjust the way that you work a little bit, or learn to live with it, much the same as we learn to live with social distancing, and we will make the world a better place. Why is it so difficult? Now, I can see we've had plenty over in the chat. Let's have a look over there. Mick Norton says, will Volvo electric machinery have the same sustainability as their tremendous diesel products? I have asked that very question to somebody at Volvo, and the answer that I was given there was better. Not the same, better. And their argument was there are fewer moving parts, so the machines themselves don't go wrong as much. There's one thing. The machine can have its battery system taken out and replaced. So much the same as you would remanufacture a diesel machine. You take out the old power unit, you put a new one in. But that old power unit is perfectly good, or that battery unit is perfectly good for things like energy storage. So not only has the machine got a second life, a guaranteed second life, the power unit has a second life as well. So in answer to your question, and as I say, I'm only telling you what Volvo said. I don't know enough about it myself, but I'm telling you what Volvo said. They reckoned that the longevity of both machine and battery were better on an electric than they are on a diesel. Sounds like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Resistance is useless. And look what happened there. Yes, well, there was that. What was it? A bypass to build, and Earth had to be demolished. What a fantastic! I've saw the series and I've seen the movie, but the book is a work of unparalleled genius. It really is. The Babel fish. Do anyone remember the Babel fish? You put a little fish in your ear and you can immediately understand any language that's being spoken to you. I'd like to think that Douglas Adams was as high as a kite when he wrote some of that. We don't all have scheduled breaks. Concrete, tarmac and lorries aren't going to wait for free while the machine charges up. The job would cost more than it needs to. I see what you're saying, and I can't necessarily argue with it. But if we've learned to accommodate these in our lives to the point where we are beholden to these, not just during the hours of work, but during the hours of personal time, at weekends, overnight. These are our link to the world. Now, I grew up on a landline, big clunky plastic landline to keep in touch with friends and family. I put coins into phone boxes to get in touch with my family and stuff. And then those mobile phones came along. Not just me, but my children when they were younger, when they were teenagers going out for a night with their friends and everything else. At no point have I ever had, personally, or any of my children, had an emergency and been confronted with a mobile phone that has run out of charge, because we have factored into our life the fact that we need to charge them. There is a charger for this by my bed. There's a charger for it on my desk. There's a charger for it in my front room. Wherever I go, if I'm sat still for long enough, put it on charge. I've learned to deal with that. Much the same as, and I know what you're saying, Jim, and I'll put your comment back up there. You don't start your working day with a few diesel vapors kicking around in your fuel tank and hope that there isn't concrete turning up or a lorry isn't delayed. You fill it up and you get ready to work. That's what you do. You might have filled it up the night before, you might have filled it up this morning, but you are ready to work. This is just the same thing. And what about that? I mean, I mentioned the idea of using that hour. And going back to the airport analogy, this is a personal gripe of mine. When we went from, be at the airport an hour before to 3 hours before, that was an opportunity, I think, for the airports to change, to put in some sort of facilities. And I don't know what they might be, maybe even a movie theatre or something like that. But something, so you arrive, you drop your bag, you check in, you get your boarding card, and now you've got to look at a clock for 2 hours and 50 minutes. Nonsense. Unfortunately, the airports didn't change. All you've got to do is go and buy yourself a £10 cup of coffee and an overpriced sandwich, and then sit there and twiddle your thumbs. We could, as an industry, if we decided, yes, we are going electric for one thing, and we are going to take a break during the day to up the juice, use it for maintenance, use it for site briefings, use it rather than everyone arriving when they're half asleep. Some of them have arrived late because of the traffic or the trains or whatever it might be. So rather than having a poorly attended site briefing first thing in the morning, you work, you carry on doing what you were doing yesterday, and then 12 o'clock rolls around, you stop, you down tools, you grab your sandwich, you grab your cup of coffee, the machines are on charge, and your supervisor is telling you, right, this afternoon, lads, we're going to be doing this, that, and the other. Right, okay, finish your sandwiches, back to work, and your machine's got a full charge in it. That's not hard, is it? Now, obviously, I think one of the biggest challenges with this would be to convince the clients that is a sensible way to work. But don't let's forget that it's the clients that are pushing us for greater and greater and greater levels of sustainability. They are the ones that are setting the environmental standard. You have to jump through these carbon emissions hoops. Okay, Mr. Client, yeah, listen, we're with you. We are 100% with you. We too want to make sites cleaner. We want to make the world cleaner. In order to make us really clean, though, rather than allowing a week to do the work, you need to allow 6 days. Because 1 hour a day, we're going to give over to charging machines. Now, if you're really committed to all things environmental, if this is a genuine belief and a genuine desire, rather than just something that you say to stakeholders and shareholders, if you genuinely want to improve the world and improve the environment, you will take an additional day for every week to allow us to do the work. Are you good with that? And if the client says no, you kind of know where the client sits. If they say yes, well, electric works. It does work. I don't use shops that only have self-checkout. I never use self-checkout, says Jim Turner. I do, and I always regret it. Always regret it. I mean, look at me. You know, I mean, I'd love to feed you the lie that I look like Brad Pitt behind this microphone. I don't. I look every one of my 61 years. And yeah, you know, I'll buy very rarely booze, but I'll require something that needs age verification. There's a camera there looking at me to make sure I'm not pilfering. Surely that camera can say, oh yeah, he's an old fart, let him have it. Oh no. You have to wait and wait. Little red light up on the flag there until somebody comes along, looks you up and down and says, yes, old fart in our presence, presses a button and allows you to purchase it. It's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. And the crazy thing is, just down the road from me, there's a co-op local shop, and they've installed 2 of those checkouts. They used to have 3 manned checkouts. They've now got 1 plus 2 self-checkouts. And the person that mans the manned one is also responsible for the 2 non-manned ones. And I said to him, you know, once it went wrong and I had to wait for him to come and fix it. I said, this is a bloody nightmare. He said, you imagine me. He said, I'm being paid the same as I was before, but I'm actually manning 3 checkouts now. Yeah. Stefan Edwards with a very, very detailed answer, which has unfortunately been cut off. But Stefan, if you can tell us what the end of this is, I'd love to hear about it. But the Dutch company Plogam, I don't know. 29 crawler excavators, 4 tractors, 19 lorries, 5 wheel loaders, 8 excavators, and 8 pile drivers. All of them are electric. Almost all their machines can operate for a full day on a single battery charge. They also have a team dedicated to swapping batteries. This takes 5 minutes per machine. This team also ensures that the empty batteries are recharged. A fine example of how it can be done without any problems. I must admit, however, that I switch over to this one. I must admit, however, that they do have customers who are willing to pay the extra costs compared to diesel. You'd have to think, though, I mean, that extra cost is a concern as it stands at the moment. Much the same as anybody that owned a Tesla. They were sold the dream of cheaper fuel and not so much. But you would have to think that the wider and the greater the population of electric vehicles and electric equipment gets, the more that balance of power will shift. And if the government truly, truly wants us to be as sustainable as they claim they do, start offering some incentives. Put more to, I was going to say, reduce the tax on electric machines. That's not the way they'll go. They'll put more tax on diesel because they get to keep a bit of that. I wonder. Chris Ford says, I'm into my 42nd year of a mobile phone, and yes, it goes flat at a time, not very often, but still becomes a lump of plastic. 42nd year. Let me think. I'm about the same. Man, they've been around a long while, haven't they? 42 years, yeah. As I say, I'm about the same. In truth, most UK sites don't have a permanent power supply, often operating for months without an installation of a grid connection. All overcomable, though. All overcomable. You think about these, what are they talking about? I know JCB are quite big on this, particularly with their hydrogen capabilities. The notion of microgrids. So you, at the start of proceedings, you actually install a hydrogen fuel generator, and it powers everything else with electricity. We have gensets on site now. We have compressors on site now. Why can we not do that? It would be the same thing if the machine can at the very least do a 12-hour shift between recharge. Some can. No, some can. And particularly when you think about the true duty cycle of some of these machines. You know, we're talking about a machine running for 4 or 5 hours before it needs a charge. But that is running flat out, solidly, not taking a break for 4 or 5 hours. You think about the machines on your site, particularly things like site dumpers. Site dumpers are often just parked up waiting for the next tour around. Okay, we've got some material to move now. Bring it over, fill it up, dump it, park it, or idle it, as is often the case. Who pays for the charger, the cabling, the grid upgrade, the generator, the electricity? it needs to be factored in, doesn't it? I mean, my assumption is if you're running equipment that is electric, you will want all the mod cons to go with it. And I know companies like Volvo, for example, do actually offer all of the infrastructure, various types of charging cables, charging stations, and everything else. If you're running electric equipment, how is that any different to buying yourself a fuel bowser to be at the yard? It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Some shops in London now only have self checkout. Unbelievable, yeah. And again, let's forget that we have accepted that. I don't believe we were ever consulted on it. We just accepted that was the way forward. I've seen more of them in the States, but I know they exist here in the UK. You know, when you go into a restaurant and rather than a menu, there's a QR code on the table and you scan the QR code, you make your selections, you pay for your selections, and then the waiter brings it over. You have no human interaction whatsoever. You know, you used to be able to, well, what does that come with? Is this too spicy? Is this a bit bland? You know, what would you suggest as a wine pairing? Look at me, I don't drink. But you would have that interaction. Now we can literally go into a restaurant and with, apart from somebody coming out and delivering the food to your table, there is no human interaction whatsoever. That is another imposition. It's another inconvenience that as a society, as a species, we've just gone, all right, okay, that seems perfectly reasonable, I guess. I mean, I was never much of a one for having long, detailed and drawn-out conversations with waiting staff, but sometimes it's quite nice, particularly if you're going for unfamiliar foreign food. You know, I know my way around a Chinese menu and an Indian menu. I know most of my way around a Thai menu. But if I find myself in a Vietnamese restaurant or a Malaysian restaurant, I'd quite like somebody to say, what you're ordering there, yeah, I wouldn't. that and that don't go together, or that and that are basically you're ordering an egg omelette with egg inside it. Don't do that. I'd like that interaction, but we are moving towards the QR code and then the waiting staff just delivering. And we accept that. We just adapt and overcome. And then you put on a high vis, and we seem somewhat reluctant to adapt. Stefan says, must admit, however, they do have customers who are willing to pay. Done that one, sorry. Jim Turner, the environmental issue is pure nonsense, he says. I'm talking about profit. Harder, longer refueling times means wages and machinery costs. Gary Muirhead says hydrogen electric would be the perfect combination for an excavator. Well, it's kind. That is this whole microsite, and I've seen it with JCB. I know there are others. I'm fairly sure Caterpillar are working on something very similar. But this idea of a microsite where, you know, at the very outset, and I guess this would be possibly another profit center for a demolition contractor. As the demolition contractor is generally the first discipline on site. You arrive, you install the infrastructure, so a hydrogen fuel generator plus the tank, which is topped up on a regular basis, and you use that to power the various tools and equipment and vehicles and everything else for the duration of the demolition. But what's to say it can't stay there and power the crane, the piling rig, whatever the steel erectors are using. Actually install it as a microgrid and then take it away afterwards, give it a bit of a dust off, and then send it somewhere else. Incidentally, if any demolition contractor listening to this then does that, I'd quite like a cut, because I just thought of that on the fly. That seems like a really good idea to me. Patent pending. Dan says, very well said, Mark. No way, that's unreal for mobile. Do you remember a phone in your car? Yeah, my first mobile phone was a car phone, wired in. Man alive, did I feel important when I had that. Literally, the number of people I phoned up just to say, hello, it's me. I'm calling from the car. I genuinely did that. What a wanker. But I really did do that. Now you can't answer it when you're driving. Nope, you can't. Now, what about more demanding environment like quarries, demo? Will that affect charge? quarries and mines are a different animal, aren't they? Because the great thing about quarries and mines is they don't go anywhere. So if you are a quarry or a mine and you've decided to go fully electric or fully hydrogen, you're going to be there for the next 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 years. You can actually install the infrastructure there. You will have your own dedicated microgrid, your own generating power, generating station. You're good to go. Demolition, slightly more problematic. But as a whole, and if Stefan Edwards is still here, because he is a demolition expert way more than I am, but demolition, the demolition that we tend to focus on this show, the wham bam thank you ma'am taking down of walls and structures, that's part of it, and that part of it we've been pretty good at taking some of the harm out from the advent of high reach machines to take men further and further away, demolition robots to allow the machine to go in to dangerous areas and leave the man behind. All of that works, and we're well aware of that. Even things like demolition guards on the cab of a high reach excavator, we've done all of that. There's one bit of the demolition process that is largely untouched by the advent of technology, and that's the first bit. It's the soft strip. Gangs of guys going in with mattocks and sledgehammers and crowbars, taking out fixtures and fittings before the demolition begins. And one of the reasons it's been untouched by technology and mechanization is because it's internal, and you can't operate a diesel machine in there without choking everybody to death on the fumes. We now have the means. We have electric skid steers. We have electric mini excavators that will go in, take man out of harm's way, do the job a whole lot quicker, do it completely emissions-free, quietly, cleanly, sustainably. We have the capability. We just haven't made the switch yet. Gary Muirhead says, we in the north of Scotland. Can you say we in the north of Scotland when you're writing this from Tenerife? I'll let it fly this time. We in the north of Scotland are spending millions on upgrading the electricity grid for the demands right now from residents without taking into consideration all this electric equipment and cars, etc. Indeed. The big push for electric, says Jim, is the forerunner to causing mass power shortages and costs that they can then justify a small-scale nuclear generator. Maybe. Dan says, I can see in years to come, no one will talk at me, all text and voice messages, barely a conversation with people. I have a feeling that's the way it's going. Yeah. It's called a mobile phone. I've never really done the maths, but I would imagine actual phone calls accounts for about 2% of what I do with that phone. I do emails, I do all my social media stuff, I do my shopping and stuff like that. Very rarely make a phone call. I take a lot of phone calls, but I rarely make a phone call. Dan saying, I'm calling from the M25. Yeah, that was a thing we did. I thought it was so cool. Gary Muirhead said, JCB are busy working away under the radar right now on hydrogen. Just wonder what amazing and important things they've got coming out in the future. Could be interesting times. Well, I'll be bringing you up to date on that at the end of May, because I'm due up there for a day and a half. I'll keep you posted. Nigel Williams says, I'm surprised no one's mentioning the rapid rate of advancement in technology and how people are reluctant to invest in infrastructure and technology that will be obsolete in a few years' time. Yes. On that basis, that notion of reluctance to invest in technology that will be obsolete in a few years' time, we as a country are committed to this, the big petrol and diesel switch off in 2050. Quick maths, it's 24 years away. At what point do we start to say, well, we could buy diesel, but we probably need to buy electric or hydrogen? Because when you think about, particularly when we've been talking about the remanufacturing, I think a lot of people will own a machine for 3 years, 4 years, often dictated by the lease terms. But you'll have it for 3 or 4 years, I think as we increase the focus on sustainability, maybe that 3 or 4 years might become 4 or 5. Maybe it might go to 7 with a bit of remanufacturing or a bit of an upgrade in between. So if you work back from 2050, 7 years will be 2043. So 17 years' time will kind of be the cutoff point. But do you as an industry, do we really want to save up all of our learning curve till the day that we can't go back? If I were a plant hire company, if I were a contractor that was running equipment, personally, I would be, even if it was just 1 or 2 machines, I'd be dipping my toe into the electric water. Don't anybody clip that. That sounds like a terrible advice. Dipping my toe into the water of electric equipment, just so I could gain the experience, understand the pros, the cons, the features, the benefits, the strengths and the weaknesses. So when the time comes to do the big switchover, I'm prepared. I would hate to be the demolition contractor, the ground working company, the plant hirer that waits until 2043 and says, well, we can't buy diesel machines anymore. Let's give one of these electric machines a go. Oh, shit, we weren't prepared for this at all. Dan says, we also have Brock. We do have Brock indeed, one of the forerunners of electric machines. Charging equipment hates mud and standing water, frost, heavy plant traffic and constant relocation. Cables get crushed, connectors get contaminated, and chargers get damaged. Mick, I am completely with you. Diesel doesn't particularly like frost. Fuel hoses get crushed. Fuel hoses and fuel lines get contaminated. Fuel lines get damaged. It's not really that different, is it? Not really that different. Dan says, I get 400 to 600 calls a month, people looking for work, and 60,000 messages. Rather you than me, my friend. I wonder how many manufacturers are still developing efficient and emissions-friendly diesel engines. Well, I've just said about the preparations. I mean, I know Volvo, for example. I know, obviously, they're up in Scandinavia, and the Scandinavians are one step ahead. But I remember talking to them, and they're talking about not 2050, but I think they're talking about 2040, but their plan internally is we need to be ready for the switch by 2030, 4 years' time. Which, you know, when you think they did the whole of Balmer with purely electric machines, Volvo and I would say JCB. I know JCB have got electric, but they're very, very bought into the whole hydrogen switch. Volvo, yes, they are dabbling with hydrogen, but they have fully committed to electric. They have seen the writing on the wall. This is not something that might happen. This is something that's going to happen whether we like it or not. It really is a case of when we choose to fall into line with the rest of the world. Jim says they have to bring tech out in planned stages as we're consumers being fed this stuff through legislation. If they cut straight to solving the problem, they'd miss out on a load of profit. It's hard to argue with that. I can't see it ever come to fruition. Fuel-free as plastic. Hang on a minute. I can't see it ever coming into fruition. Fuel-free as plastic. Most items rely on petroleum and making of clothes too. One of the things which I don't talk about very often on this show, because it doesn't matter here. I'm quite. I wouldn't say I'm a fashionable person, but I quite like clothes and clothing, and I've got some nice clothes, and I do. I wouldn't say I watch fashion to follow it. I watch fashion for interest. And one of the things that I've seen, I mean, so come to the fore in the past year, 18 months, 2 years, is the whole recycling thing. the number of people that, it used to be a case of, I went to the Chanel show and I paid 3,000 quid for this shirt. And that was worn as a kind of a badge of honor. Oh, look at me, how cool and trendy am I? Bought it straight off the runway. There is there is a real move now, and I do think there's a bit to be learned from this. There are what I would say, real fashion pioneers, the people that are working in the fashion industry, they're working in design and that kind of thing, that are wearing secondhand clothes, basically. I wouldn't say they've necessarily picked it up from the local charity shop. Some cases they have. But what they have done, they've reframed it. It's not a case of I'm wearing charity shop clothing because that's all I can afford. It's I'm wearing charity shop clothing. I'm doing my bit for the environment. Look, I still look absolutely fantastic, but I've not required another new piece of another new garment to be made. And they are wearing their sustainability literally, not on their sleeve, but as their sleeve. And they are very, very proudly flying the flag for recycling, upcycling, and that kind of thing. I wonder if that's where we're headed or where we need to be headed. We've said before, we've had, tier one contractors talking about, we insist that no machine comes on our site that is more than 2 years old. Yeah, all right. Never mind that. I've got a 10-year-old Caterpillar excavator here. It's got a new engine in it. It's got a new transmission in it. It's better, cleaner, faster, more efficient than anything else on this site. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And I'm going to fly my remanufacturing flag high and colourfully. Jim Turner says the world would shit its pants. Governments wanted nuclear on every street corner, so they'll move us all onto electric, push the cost up, strangle availability, and then tell us small-scale nuclear is the only way to sort it. Jim, let's have this conversation again in 20 years' time. I'll be 81. I won't remember this conversation, but bring that up again. You may well be right. Chris Ford says, I can see why Volvo are committed to electricity-powered machines. There's plenty of hydro energy available there. There is, but let's forget, Volvo is very, very, very much a global manufacturer. Yes, they will be manufacturing and selling equipment to Sweden, but off the top of my head, I don't know the figures, but I don't reckon Sweden accounts for more than about 1 or 2% of Volvo sales. They're looking beyond. Mick Norton says the Dutch power banks with a dedicated team to replace batteries seems a sensible advancement for the EV. Yeah. And I'll take you back. When we went over to the Netherlands to film with ZQuip, the switchable battery technology people, we went to a college for school leavers. And they've got a dedicated plant and equipment. They've got a big demonstration area outside, which is where we were filming. They've got cranes erected there. They've got both a tower crane and some mobile cranes, but they've got proper plant and equipment. Diggers, dozers, all that kind of thing. And the kids that are coming out of that, they come out of school and they go into this college. Already at 16 years old, the Dutch, as part of their curriculum of learning how to enter the plant and construction equipment game, there is an electric and a hydrogen element to their education already. As a nation, we're all, should we, shouldn't we? Well, the electric looks a bit sketchy. Hydrogen looks a bit more promising. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know where we're going to get it. We don't know where we're going to get it from. But yeah, well, whereas the Dutch have just gone, no, to sod all that. We're doing it. We're in. We've bought in. We're actually. You can go to the Netherlands today. You can get on the phone, or probably there's an app for it, or get on the internet, and you can get yourself a hydrogen generator to your site today. Simple as. Whereas we're working on it, and there's infrastructure. They're doing it. What about electric supply and demand? Pre-cooked EV cars, unbelievable amount of plastic used, which makes them horrid looking. I mean, there is another story to be had. One of my wife's friends lives in Wimbledon, not miles away from where Dan is working. Funnily enough, lives in Wimbledon, and up until recently, she was doing this shared car thing. So she actually went out and bought herself a car, but she works from home a lot, so she hires her car out. Is that the future of automotive? And if you're going to do that, make it electric. Take a few cars off the road, reduce traffic jams, reduce emissions, all at the same time. I wonder if the future has us all owning cars and multiple cars per house. I wonder. Dan says Wales all nuclear plants planned, and Mick says, why is there no standardization for charging connectors for Volvo, JCB, and Hyundai? They're all different. That is innovation forever, isn't it? It's the one that I always fall back upon is VHS versus Betamax. I think to begin with, everybody is trying to push their own dedicated system, and at some point along the line, somebody will gain a greater advantage. This particular type of pin or this particular type of charger is more popular, and therefore we will all have to fall into line. I think that's the way we'll go. If governments really cared about the planet, they'd be planting millions of acres for biodiesel. The emissions would create more plant food to make more biodiesel, and the cycle starts again. When they lower the CO2, it means plants grow less, farmers have to buy more fertilizer, food costs more, and the top make more profit. You've thought this through, haven't you, Jim? I can tell. Dan says, we are like hydrogen is all dangerous. It's highly flammable. Electric cars are not as good in winter. I've had a few cars on petrol and diesel that weren't particularly good in winter. They weren't that good in summer, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, it's all a good point. All a good point. People, I have already taken up way too much of your time. We're an hour and 23 minutes in. Those halcyon days when this show was over and done within 10 minutes. Do you remember that? It was a simpler time, wasn't it? Right, people, go and have a fantastic day. I'm back tomorrow. I'm also back on Monday, and then you're going to have to manage without me for a little while because I'm going to be in Italy. On that basis, and to prepare you for me not being here because I'm in Italy, for now, arrivederci.